Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Pisces for November 2015. I'm trying on a new format where I'm doing individual readings for each sign that are more focused just on the sign, and I've split up the readings into an additional general astrology that's affecting everyone video. So make sure you listen to the individual report for your sun sign and for your rising sign each month, and then also listen to the general astrology of November 2015 for all signs, because there's so many important things about the general astrology that you really need to know that I'm not going to cover in this specific Pisces focus or the other drill downs for each of the individual signs. So go to my website, aspiritualspark.com, where you can see more about my growing list of self-development tools that are very affordably priced, and you can also look into personal coaching with me or with one of my growing list of apprentices who are ready to assist you. And while you're there, sign up for my free email newsletter and become part of my community and get all the perks that go along with that. So in our 5-point list, I'm trying on this 5-point list for each individual sign where we talk about the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and the Moon for each sign and what they're doing in the chart for each sign. And also some general clusters of energy. So for Pisces for November, we've got strong representation in the 8th house. We've got, for all of you, early, middle, and late, we have strong representation in the 7th house. And for you later degree placements of Pisces, you have some lingering energy in the 6th house. And then for some of you early degree placements, you have the energy of 9th house starting to come in with the energy of the new moon. And we also have the 3rd house being highlighted with the full moon. So let's talk about some specifics, what that means. So the sun represents where you shine, where there's brightness, where there's focus, where there's attention needed. Sometimes it can show us problems, but sometimes it can show us solutions. You know, it's this energy of like a giant spotlight, and it spends about a month in each house. We have 12 houses or fields of experience that we have as humans, and wherever the sun, this spotlight is in each month, this is the area that there's just tremendous focus on. It's like putting a spotlight in an attic. You know, you'll find some treasures there from the light being in there, but you'll also find some things that need to be cleaned up in there as well. So this sun for all of you is moving through the 8th house. The 8th house is this house of, it's called other people's money. It's called the house of shared resources, collaboration. So it's spousal money, family money, inheritances, sweepstakes, money that you get through loans, credit, debt, all of that energy, student loans, anything where you're merging resources with someone else or using someone else's money. This is also one of the houses of deep psychology and studies of mysteries, and these are actual mysteries sometimes, and sometimes they're like the mystery schools, so the more esoteric version of the energy of mystery. The 8th house also rules, is one of the taglines is money, sex, and power, basically is what the 8th house rules, you know, one of the big headings that all these other things are subheadings under. So anything involving intimacy, anything involving sexuality or sexual issues or anything there is covered in the 8th house. So you've got this time in November where the sun is this big spotlight on all of those things. So you'll find that your energy, your focus is naturally gravitating towards all things 8th house. Now to further solidify this focus on the 8th house, most of you will have Mercury moving through the 8th house for the whole month. You later degree placements are going to have Mercury moving through the 7th house at first and then moving into the 8th house. So all of you at some point in the month will have Mercury in the 8th house. And Mercury it speaks about the information, the sharing of information, the coming in of information, the going out of information, researching, you know, the energy of communication, of mobility, activity. So again, there's information coming in about 8th house things, information going out about 8th house things, research happening, you know, lots of busyness. Wherever Mercury is, there's a lot of busyness. And so you've got this, you know, important pieces of information coming in and going out in the 8th house. For your later degree placements, you have a little bit of Mercury still in the 7th house, and that relates to one-on-one relationships. The 7th and the 8th house are very closely linked in the way that they're both partnership houses. The 7th house is just the pure partnership, the interaction with one-on-one relationship. And then the 8th house is the one-on-one relationship plus your resources, you know, merging resources. So whenever there's a transit through the 7th and then the 8th house, there's a lot of similarities between the manifestations. So then we've got Venus also moving through the 7th house, and the 7th house is this house of, you know, one-on-one relationships, clients, your romantic relationships, business relationships, any close personal relationships of any kind are in the 7th house. So wherever Venus goes, I always think of Venus as my Italian grandmother Marge, Grandma Marge, and I will be calling Venus my Grandma Marge. So if you continue watching my videos, or if you have, you will come to associate Venus with the energy of my Grandma Marge. And this is what that looks like. So when I would see my grandma, this is a tendency that people in the Italian culture have had, that I've seen, my experience, where she would get all worked up, right? She'd get so passionate. She's a very small woman, so even as I was a child, she was reaching up to me. And she would run towards me, and she would grab me by the face and kiss me all over my mouth, and then slip me some money, basically. So that's what Venus rules. It rules love, like affection. It rules money, which is the slipping of the $5. You know, it also rules this aesthetics. So you could kind of add in there, let's say she bought me a dress, you know, something pretty. And that kind of encompasses this energy of Venus. So wherever Venus is moving, there's in the whatever house it's in, there's just this vibrance, you know, like this warm Italian grandmother that's just giving kisses and money and pretty things to that field of experience. So it brings harmony, it brings balance, it brings money, it brings opportunities. So Venus is moving through the house of partnerships. So often it will bring some more harmony to your relationships. For some people who are unattached, or if they're attached and looking, whatever that looks like, Venus can bring love in. I've seen many a time where a person of interest or a person of consequence may come in on a Venus transit. Now, because Venus moves very quickly, if it's just coming from the Venus transit without anything else behind it, it might be a short-term thing because Venus moves quickly, so it rules more short-term things. But when it combines with other planetary aspects, then it could bring in a person of consequence for a lot. I call them POCs, people of consequence. You know, whatever that winds up looking like. It's like a monumental experience in your life. And you've got that going on. So you early degree and middle degree placements have that going on right from the beginning of the month and for all of the month pretty much. Your late degree placements start out the month of November with Venus still in the 6th house, and it will later get to the 7th house where I just explained all of those energetic manifestations. But before it gets there, it's still lingering in the 6th house. And the 6th house is your house of like the workplace. Or the home place, whatever it is that you are surrounded by every day. You know, it's called the mundane reality. It's just your general surroundings. And so more harmony there, more love there, more affection there. Sometimes people will find workplace romance show up when Venus is in the 6th house. Or they may find that they get a little bonus or something related to finances, or perhaps they work on some feng shui or clean up their office space, whether it's you going to an office or whether it's your office is at home. You know, there's just the adding of beauty, that the focus on aesthetics in your daily surroundings. So then we have Mars, and Mars is moving through the 7th house for all of you at some point from the beginning. Middle or early and middle degree placements have Mars in the 7th house. For your later degree placements, again, it's similar with Venus, that it starts out in the 6th house. So we'll talk about the 7th house first, and then we'll dip into what the 6th house looks like. So Mars, to me, is like the energy of a border collie, with one exception, because Mars can be kind of aggressive and, you know, maybe even violent sometimes, and border collies are totally not aggressive and violent. They're barky, they're active, they're busy. That's the energy of the border collie that I want to liken to Mars. So I have border collies, and that's why I think about this. You know, it's like they're over here, they're over there, they're over there. It's constant. They're panting, they're running, they're hypervigilant, they're doing everything. They're busy. They're super busy. So wherever Mars is in your chart, it's only there once every 2 years. Mars has a little bit over a 2-year orbit. So when that boost that you get to a house whenever Mars is there, you only get that once every 2 years, for some number of weeks. And then it passes and it goes to the next house. So you'll just find yourself naturally gravitating towards, wow, I'm really hot on this right now. And that this is your relationships. So the best way to use Mars in the 7th house is to focus on win-win, because they're, like the energy of a border collie. I watch my two. When I walk them separately, they're pretty fine. When I walk them together, the one's biting the other one's head, trying to nip him and keep him in place, and they get like all worked up and agitated, and then sometimes they wind up fighting with each other in a very gentle way, because there's just so much agitation that it spills over into a little bit of aggression. So that's the energy of Mars, and that's where that aggressive energy can come in, where you've got so much vibrating around you that you wind up getting pissed off about it, So if you have this energy in your relationships, if you're not using it for win-win and to cooperate with someone, you can start arguing with them. So it could bring arguments and conflicts, but that's not necessary. You're not doomed to that, and it's not the best use of the energy. The best use of the energy is for you to work in union with someone. And remember that you don't have that boost of energy but every 2 years. So if you want to work on a project with somebody, whether it's your business partner or your romantic partner or whoever, having this energy is really great. So be thinking about or be open to, and you might just, like I said, naturally find yourself gravitating towards working with people, because it's the kind of thing you just find yourself hot on. You're like, wow, I'm really focused on this right now. And that's where Mars is. For your later degree placements, you still have that busy energy in the 6th house, which is your house of health, which is your house of pets, which is your house of your daily surroundings, so you could be really busy just with your day-to-day life, or very focused on health matters, or very focused on pet or animal matters. The new moon is happening for you very early degree placements in the 9th house, but the rest of you have the new moon, this new opening of energy, this seed planting time, in the 8th house. So even you early degree placements that have it in the 9th house, you still could have a manifestation in the 8th house because it's close enough. So you plant seeds, you make your new moon wishes, you focus on the energy where the new moon is occurring. And the new moon is occurring in the sign of Scorpio, and for most of you it's happening in the house of Scorpio. So double energy of everything new around what we already talked about with Scorpio. So think about what I said with all the different manifestations of Scorpio and base your new moon wishes around everything Scorpio. Your new moon wishes will go further if you line them up with the energies. Do your wishes on the topics that are included in the sign that the new moon is in. Now, for those of you early placements who may have some Sagittarius new moon energies, this is the energy of teaching and learning and global interactions in different countries and different cultures, and writing and publishing and speaking. So new things opening up with possibilities there could be happening for you, and that's where you also may want to do some seed planting. You can also do them in Scorpio because it's in the sign of Scorpio, but you can do seed planting in the house that it's in as well. So you've got 2 areas to play with, you early degree placements. So the full moon, this coming to fruition, completion, wholeness, is happening for most of you. You early and late degree placements are having this fullness happening in the 3rd house. Some of you very late degree placements are going to have this in the 2nd house, but it's close enough to the 3rd house that you all could have manifestation in the 3rd house. So sometimes this brings drama. Sometimes this brings an excited coming to fruition of something you've wanted. It's something that ends, it's something that comes in. And this has to do with the house of Gemini. So this has to do with communication, vehicles, transportation, something involving your car or your bike or planes, trains, automobiles, your devices, how you communicate with people, things involving siblings or aunts, uncles, cousins, something like that could also come to fruition there. I always say to leave a little free space around the time of the full moon, starting several days before, because this is the time when, speaking of dogs, when they get wet, they shake their energy off. And that's what the full moon is like. We have all this emotional discharge, this emotional buildup in our fields, and then the full moon is where we discharge it, we kind of shake it off. So you want to leave a little space for that. So definitely go to my website, aspiritualspark.com, And check out my growing list of self-development tools. I've priced things so that many of them are just accessible to everybody. And then there's other things that are varying in price, but my point is, and my goal is to be able to make self-development accessible to everybody. And so the suggestions that I make in the videos, the resources that I create, are geared towards any willing soul having the support they need for their conscious evolution. So definitely sign up for my free email newsletter to become part of my community. As one of the perks that you get from that, you receive a monthly write-up with a lot of the details of the upcoming astrology in a written version, for you to keep track of the energies of certain dates and what things are well indicated when. And definitely listen to my general astrology reading, the November 2015 astrology for all signs, because there's a lot of sweetness, just massive amounts of sweetness in the stars in November, and I want you to capitalize on that. I want you to synergize with it. I want you to soak it all in, but I'm not going over those details in these readings for each sign. So listen to that, and I hope you have a wonderful November. Bye.